A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 2 needs to address these 7 things, or else. Although Season 2 is expected to adapt George R.R. Martin's book, The Sworn Sword, the finale does make us question what will happen in the forthcoming episodes. Both Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon have deviated from their source material on countless occasions, so it would be no surprise if A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms does the same. This leaves us to wonder whether certain characters introduced in Season 1 will return for Season 2 in spite of them not being featured in the second book, or wonder which questions left by the end will be answered soon. It's hard to picture Sir Lionel Baratheon, Daniel Ings, out of the series after providing comedic relief in several instances of Season 1. Yet, given that the character isn't a part of the second book of George R.R. Martin's novella, he is likely not to return for Season 2. In the Season 1 finale, we see Lionel and Dunk lying down against a tree, with the latter's battle wounds making it hard to fathom that he is still alive. While Dunk is remorseful over the fact that a noble knight like Baelor, Bertie Carvel, died and his life was spared, Lionel is trying to lighten up the mood, suggesting that they go sailing or drinking after surviving the Trial of Seven. Although the HBO adaptation doesn't have to follow its source material word for word, it remains unclear whether Lionel will be part of the upcoming episodes, as the character's final conversation with Dunk suggests. One thing is for certain, from episode 1 onward, Lionel has become one of the most entertaining supporting characters in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Hopefully, Ings might reprise his role for at least a flashback in Season 2. Sir Duncan the Tall might be a well-intentioned knight, that is, if he was ever knighted, but he is hardly as clever as his young squire. In the Season 1 finale, when Dunk and Egg are about to embark on their next adventure, the young prince reveals that there are more than 7 kingdoms to consider when thinking about where they could go next. According to him, there are 9 kingdoms, and he has never been over the Red Mountains before, which could hint at what his and Dunk's next destination might be. The series title credit is even changed to A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms to reflect their conversation. Only time will tell if this name change will be permanent. Egg lists each of the 9 kingdoms, and this scene clearly displays the difference between what common folk know about Westeros and the information that only the nobility has access to assert their power. Although Dunk wasn't wrong to think that there were 7 kingdoms, power has shifted ever since the ruling of Aegon the Conqueror. It's much easier to keep saying 7 kingdoms, even though that isn't a precise observation. In the finale, the weight of Baelor's death is apparent, with many believing he was the ideal fit for a king. After his demise, the line of succession has been altered, paving the way for what could be Westeros' downfall. His younger brother, Maekar, Sam Spruill, will be the next to rule, and as we know, his lineage will eventually lead to the ascension of Aerys II, the Mad King. Maekar is well aware that his brother would have been the more stable option to inherit the throne, and he feels responsible for his death. Not only was the Trial of Seven his son's idea, but he killed his own brother and will have this guilt hanging over his head forever. As someone who wasn't prepared to rule, Maekar is fearful of what's to come, and rightfully so. He expresses his concerns about his sons to Dunk when he pleads with the latter to accept Egg as his squire. After Dunk agrees to mentor Egg under certain conditions, Maekar can't bear the thought of one of his children having to live as a peasant while training to become a knight. Dunk even tells Maekar that even though his other sons, Darion, Henry Ashton, and Arianne, Finn Bennett, were raised as nobles, they have grown up to be nothing but. It will be interesting to see how the shift in succession will impact the events of Season 2. Sir Raymond, Sean Thomas, stepped to the plate when his cousin betrayed Dunk by siding with Arianne during the Trial of Seven, and survived the fight despite having no formal training. In the Season 1 finale, he is celebrating his union with Red, Rowan Robinson, who claims that she is already pregnant with their child. In one of the episode's most heartwarming instances, Raymond reveals that he has bought Sweetfoot, the horse that used to belong to Sir Arlen, Danny Webb. Touched by his friend's thoughtful gesture, Dunk decides to give Sweetfoot back to Raymond as a gift. In the middle of so much bloodshed, it's nice to see moments of tenderness like this towards the end of the first chapter of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Yet the big question is what we can expect from Sir Raymond's fate in the series. Now that he has parted ways with Stefan, Edward Ashley, the character has adopted a green apple as his sigil, trying as much as possible to differentiate himself from his traitorous cousin. He also shares with Dunk that he has plans to establish a new barrel and further his family cider business. With a child on the way, Raymond and Red are about to begin the green apple Fossaway line. By the end of Dunk's conversation with Maekar, audiences presumed that the latter had authorized Egg to become Dunk's squire. Yet, the end credits sequence suggests that that is far from the truth. Before Egg reveals his real identity in episode 3, no one knew he was a prince. Egg made it his mission to conceal his noble status from Dunk by shaving his head and wearing clothes that only common folk would wear. He tried as much as possible to hide the fact that he was much more knowledgeable than Dunk about various affairs and would constantly try to evade any situation where he could be recognized. When Egg told Dunk the truth, it almost cost their friendship and Dunk's life. The Trial of Seven might have been Arian's way to take revenge on Dunk for attacking him, but it didn't help that Dunk was accused of kidnapping Egg. With Season 2 following the duo in their next adventure, viewers are left to wonder if Egg will ever reveal that his father did not agree to Dunk's ground rules for accepting him as a squire. Egg being caught in another lie could test their relationship even more than the first time, especially with Maekar doing whatever he can to find his son. In George R.R. Martin's second book, Dunk and Egg spend a long time searching for Tanzelle, Tanzin Crawford, but do not end up finding her. Yet Season 2 could always change things and allow for Tanzelle to re-enter the picture. The character was last seen being assaulted by Prince Arian after the puppeteer slayed a dragon in one of her performances. Arian finds personal offense to this, given the Targaryens' ties to dragons over time. In A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, dragons seem to be extinct, but we also know that later on, they do resurface. During the few scenes that she and Dunk shared in Season 2, their chemistry is made apparent. They even bond over their heights in a given scene where Dunk attempts to flirt with her. Before fleeing Ashford in episode 4, Tanzelle keeps her promise and revamps Dunk's shield with a painting of a green elm tree, set against a sunset background with a shooting star in the sky. If the series decides to expand on its potential romance, it would be interesting to see this become one of the biggest changes from the source material. The Season 1 finale gives a cop-out answer to the mystery surrounding Dunk's knighthood. Although he claims that Sir Arlen of Pennytree knighted him before his death, there were no witnesses to corroborate whether that is true. In the final episode, Dunk asks Sir Arlen why he never knighted him, making audiences feel certain that Dunk is indeed a farce. Yet, when Sir Arlen goes from completely motionless to catching everyone by surprise when he carries on with the story he was telling, viewers are once again left to wonder if there might be a chance that Dunk is saying the truth. Although it remains to be seen if Season 2 will reveal whether Dunk was or wasn't knighted by Sir Arlen. Part of the thrill of watching A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is not knowing the truth. If Season 2 carries on with this mystery, it will further the series' effort to show what makes someone a true knight. Dunk speaks about feeling like a farce since Baelor's death, but his actions speak for themselves. He stands up for what is right, and, at the end of the day, that is what distinguishes a hero from someone who just bears a title.